Good evening, and welcome to the Caring View, the online health and social care platform free to access to absolutely everybody. You know the drill by now. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a share. I don't know, give us a cheer. We'd love a cheer. I think we can cheer on our own system now with this new fancy streaming platform. There we go. We are at The Caring View across all of our socials, www.thecaringview.co.uk, where you can access all of our past podcast episodes, our YouTube shows, our free resources, our suppliers, and our sponsors. We are completely free to access. We don't charge for anything, never will charge for anything. What you want, what you get from us is completely free. The only reason we can do that is because of our fabulous sponsors. So without further ado, quick roll call. We have Prosperwell, the UK's leading digital marketing agency, www.prosperwell.co.uk. I can't find my words this evening. We have CBAT Care Business Associates training for your health and social care training requirements. Do go check out their CHAPS course and their trainer courses. We've also got Attis Care by Attis Insurance Brokers, comprehensive care coverage and proactive risk management. By the way, the three that we've just gone through now, we have had blogs from them on our website. So do go check out our website and the content that they are providing us for you for free. Another blog post on our website is Log My Care. They are a fabulous sponsor of ours, the intuitive care management platform loved by complex care providers. We keep saying this every week. We've not been told off for saying it yet. I think they have a freemium version. Go check them out. Try before you buy. Very rare nowadays. We have a piece of work coming out with Radar, actually, all about how to source your suppliers. And that may or may not be one of the questions we tell you to ask. So definitely do go check out Log My Care. We also have Florence, directly connecting health and social care professionals with shifts and training around the country. A great alternative to agencies. And we have a website, www.caringview.co.uk, and it has been graciously created for us by Jack AI, but also Jack White of Health Automated and Learning Mint. So please do go check them out. Very, very AI powered there. The last sponsor that we've got, and we are very proud for this, is UK Care Week. You can register for UK Care Week from our link, which we will share in the chat. You can't click it while it's on the screen, so we will share it in the chat. We are there 19th and 20th of March, Mark. 2 full days. We have a theatre there. We've got a fabulous lineup of speakers. Dr. Charles Armitage joining us. We've got Paul Blaine joining us. We've got Sonia Rai, Kavita Brown, Miss Menopause, Lock My Care. We've got have I said Paul Blaine? I have said Paul Blaine. Paul Blaine's amazing, so I might say Paul Blaine twice. It's going to be a fantastic 2 days. Loads of free content from us, loads of resources from us, and some real practical learning tips which you can take away and apply to your day-to-day work. Have I missed anything off, Mark? Good evening. Mark's on mute, so that's something.
That's all the stuff that you've missed. So no, you haven't. I was just saying, I do like it when you do the intro. It just means I don't have to remember anything for the first part of the show.
You're a cheeky git. You really are. So tonight, it's me and Dee again. I'm quite liking it. Not that we don't like guests. We love guests. Come and be a guest with us. If you want to be a guest with us, we welcome all of your knowledge. But Mark, me and Dee, I've missed me and Dee for a while, and 2 weeks on the trot. I'm loving it. So it's just you and I tonight talking around whose responsibility is it to fix social care. Now, this has come from a previous show.
Good.
I'm saying it's me and Dee. I don't think I've got Mark. Are you there, Mark?
I'm here now. I don't know what happened. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Oh, Dee, what were you saying, Mark, before I so rudely interrupted you?
No, I have no idea what's going on with me today. I was just saying I'm really looking forward to tonight's show.
Yeah, no, me too. It came from a conversation we previously had at one of the care shows, but we also revisited it as a topic for Norfolk Care Association. So for those of you who don't know, as the Caring View, we do work with the care associations. We will provide learning experiences, talks, resources, you name it. We are there to help and support. So we revisited this topic as a sort of short fire, rapid 25-minute session with the providers of Norfolk. Realising 25 minutes was nowhere near long enough, and thought we'd bring it to the show tonight. And it is Mark and I on tonight, but actually you guys in the comments, you ladies in the comments, you thems in the comments, please do give us your ideas as well when we hit these topics as we go through tonight, because it will be really, really interesting to hear what everyone else has got to say. Tell us we're talking crap if you think we're talking crap. If you think we're talking the right lines, tell us we're talking on the right lines. If you've got ideas that we've not thought about, please do share them with us. So Mark, I'm going to let you start.
Yeah, so the conversation is, I'm going to share this on screen, is whose responsibility is it to fix social care? So we've got the slide deck that we use for Norfolk just because it went down really well. And some of the bits of pieces and the learning content from today will be around the power of personal responsibility, how you can make the system work for you, and also how you can empower yourself and your team. So there's a lot of talk around kind of social care, the problems that social care currently faces, and that a lot of it needs fixing. And the conversation we had way back when was around whose responsibility is it? And I think for some people, when you talk to them that work in social care, they feel a personal responsibility. I know I definitely do. I think for some people, they look to the regulator because ultimately they do regulate us. Some look to local authorities because they're the ones that are funding the majority of packages and the services that they provide. Some believe that it's health, and health should be kind of sharing that with the ICBs. And I guess the first question we want to kind of pose to everybody watching tonight in the comments is, whose responsibility do you think it is? So while you're dropping them in the comments, Adam, what are your thoughts around whose responsibility is it to fix social care?
Well, I think, you've nailed quite a few of the points there. We're thinking around being a collaborative approach. It has to be a collaborative approach. There's no way that one singular entity can go out there and resolve the issues that we are facing in social care. We use the word fix in social care like it's broken, and I get that elements of it are broken, but I actually think the system's broken more than actually social care is. For me, there's a number of groups that have got some really big responsibilities here. So we've got the media, for starters. I really think the media has a huge part in playing in improving the public image of social care. A better public image of social care is only going to lend in our favours. We have a Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, and he is referred to as the Health Minister pretty much in every news outlet, completely omitting the term social care. Totally takes it out of the public mind's eye. It's not there. It's not being recognised. It's not being understood. You tend to only find social care in the media when bad stuff's happened and there's been failings. And very rarely do we see the amazing work that goes on in social care as a whole. And it is generally not sexy. We are not ER. We are not casualty. We are not whatever the American ones are now, 911 or whatever it is. They don't have a show all around social care. We've got Call the Midwife, we've got Casualty, we've got we've got Holby City and Casualty. I don't even know if they're still on TV anymore. We even had that spin-off from Bloody Heartbeat, which was set in the 60s, with health. And very little is there around social care. There is no sort of series or media devoted to life in the nursing home or devoted to life with care at home. There's elements of it that you can find within soap operas and generic TV shows like that. But again, they tend to be the focal point of a story rather than it being the norm of a story. It's not considered a normal part of life in these shows. It has to be something extravagant and something, oh my God, this person's being abused, or oh my God, this person's having the finances stolen, or oh my God, this is happening. Rather than it just being nipping down to Vera's house on Coronation Street, and as you walk through the door, the carers are just leaving because it's just day-to-day life. It's not really there and accepted. So I think the media has a huge, huge part to play here. I think the regulator, for certain, the regulator for sure has a huge issue to play in social care, and I think their part in all of this is fixing themselves and sorting themselves out. I think without a good, strong regulator, we're sort of without guidance, we're sort of without support, and we do have that sense of you've done wrong, you've not done right. We're coming here to tell you off, rather than we're coming here to tell you that you're compliant and you're doing everything great. I think local authorities, again, ICBs, they all have their responsibilities. We know what their responsibilities are. We know that the government have got their responsibilities, and they're taking them very seriously, Mark. They're taking them very, very seriously. They're going to give us some recommendations around how to resolve the issues in social care. And we don't have long to wait. 2028 is when we're expecting them. So I think, kudos to them for giving it a go. But by the time that we do get them recommendations, we'll have a whole new government pretty much getting lined up. I think from what we can see at the moment, it might be Nigel Farage and his blooming party that's going to come in and take over. So are those recommendations going to mean anything? But I also think people and society have a huge role to play in supporting social care. Now, I don't mean that as in we should be doing more for our relatives. I think we already understand there's 5+ million people out there with unmet social care needs and unpaid carers, and I get all of that. But actually, as a society, as a people, maybe we need to be a bit more understanding and accepting of social care. Maybe we need to stop this whole don't go into social care, it's a dead-end job, and go, actually, yeah, social care can be something incredible and can be something amazing and something to be really, really proud of. And I think without one piece of that puzzle coming from one person, we are always going to struggle. We sort of just need to sit down now at the table and go, right, we all have to be able to make this happen. However, as a provider, if the system's not working for you, if things aren't working the way they should be, if you're not getting what you need from outside and third-party sources, there is a huge responsibility on yourself to make it work for you. You can either make it work for yourself or you can pack up. And for me, those are the only two options now as social care providers. It's very difficult, and I know those are harsh words, but actually there has to be ways in which you can make the system better for yourself. And I know we're going to touch on this later, but where things may be providing you obstacles, how do you turn those into positives? And how do you flip the situation around to make it benefit you rather than hinder you?
No, absolutely. And just touching on some of those bits there in terms of going back to the programs you spoke about that we currently don't see on TV and it being very health orientated. I find it really strange that there's not something on social care, because you mentioned Call the Midwife, which is, childcare. We had the home care or the care homes for 4-year-olds, which was actually a really popular series, and I think was commissioned for like 2 or 3 series, Christmas specials. And there has been moments where there has been care at home, and I do feel like you could have a very real, a bit like the police programs, like Police Interceptors. I feel like you could have a really detailed show, and it might be positive, but there could be elements where it is negative, and it does touch on, actually, this lady's had her money stolen, or there's this safeguarding, obviously with people's consent, because I think actually it might, touching on something else you spoke about, around how society is responsible. I feel like almost it would open people's eyes to actually what is in social care. Because actually, I think when I talk to my friends that don't work in social care or my family, actually, when I talk about some of the things that the carers go through, some of the things you kind of observe and you witness and bits and pieces, I think they're actually really shocked that that happens, actually, how much financial abuse and abuse in general comes from, the daughter. I don't think society as a whole really has that awareness. And I really do think that, it could be a really good view and an awareness piece for society. I think you touched on it is society's responsibility, and I do agree with that. It's just how we get there and where we begin. And I guess that leads us nicely onto the next slide, which talks about the power of personal responsibility. I'm going to come back to you, Adam, because I know that you've spoken a number of times around actually, in society compared to today, compared to kind of previous years, what we see. But, like little things in the supermarket, hope I'm making sense in explaining, triggering your mindset. Oh, what have I said before in the past? Probably if you're like me, you'd be like, I don't know what you're on about. But I'm going to hand back
exactly
to you
what you're
around
going
personal
on.
responsibility.
I know exactly what you're leading to. Before we do, Mark, I'm just going to come quickly to the comments. Danny has said, I think you've hit the nail on the head, such a general lack of cohesion between health and social care. This feeds the narrative that we must save the NHS first and social care is forever the poor relation. It is, in your words, not sexy. Media image is poor, not seen as a career or profession, but we have to remain optimistic and continue to push for change. Absolutely, Danny. I suppose also about that fixing social care, fixing NHS first. people don't see social care as the foundation to the NHS, which really, really frustrates me. You know, you can't build a house on sand, and that's what they're trying to do. The NHS at the moment is try and get it to a position without any real strong foundations, and it's just sinking. Jenny has come in and said, I'm not convinced that the term social care reflects the current knowledge and skills that are needed to work in the sector. Maybe we need to rebrand. Maybe. Let's not get the government to make us new badges, because we all know how that went down. But actually, yes. I mean, in my local area, they are talking is one health, one care, one place. Do we want to have it just as health? Do we want to have it just as care? Do they need to be separate entities? Like you say, is social care a wide enough term for us now? And Tina has said, in Scotland, interesting to see where they are going with social care. Statement that all partners must come together to make the case for social care strong investment, but changing their proposed bill for an integrated social care and community health. But integration seems to be too challenging. The change proposed for adult social care nursing and pushing social care as a career path and not going straight to the NHS on qualifying should be pushed to increase placements for student nurses, therapists, etc. Improve understanding from the floor. Now, I love what Tina was saying there, and I 100% think we need to promote more nursing in social care. I think it's a definite. There are some great things out there at the moment, like your CHAPS, which is sort of real entry level. You've got your assistant practitioners, you've got your nursing associates, and they are really fantastic careers. The nursing associate, you can actually just top up to become a nurse at the end of it with a couple more years with placements and learning. What I have found in the past, and I'm not talking the last couple of years, but previous, where I've worked with student nurses, there is this sense of entitlement sometimes that nursing in social care is not nursing. There's the idea that to be a nurse, you've got to be in the hospital, or you've got, I mean, even the sort of the lack of respect between hospital nurses and district nurses. You know, I have got family who are district nurses, and they are not looked on the same as hospital nurses are. And I feel like nursing as a whole needs to have a bit of a shake-up, and needs to have a bit of an ego dampener, and needs to have a bit of a wake-up to realise that actually nurses who work as lone workers in the community or in homes that aren't hospital settings are probably a lot more skilled. They have a lot more autonomy. There's a lot more variety in the day, and a lot of the times they are leading a shift, they are leading a team, they are leading a home, and they have got 30 plus people's lives in their hands without a doctor to go to, without other nurses to go to. So social care nursing is a tremendously rewarding and important role, and it really needs that respect moving forwards. And I think social care nurses all around the country need a huge round of applause, because they go through the ringers, and we need more of them, and we need more respect for them. So I agree with what Tina's saying. I don't know what you say, Mark, but that's my my sort of point of view on how the system looks upon social care nurses.
No, I think I fully agree with what you're saying. And I think when I was, during the pandemic, advocating for, you know, learning disability or people living with a learning disability to have the jab, there were so many learning disability nurses that reached out to me around just that lack of awareness, the lack of input that they were having into actually setting up hubs and bits and pieces. And they feel exactly the same, that actually it's all geared towards the NHS. But even in terms of qualification wise, when you're studying, there's no mention of going into social care as a career. It's all kind of going into the NHS. And I guess if you're studying to be a nurse, it's how we attract people into social care when the NHS has got the pension and kind of that career ladder that's already in place. And I think maybe Skills for Care's, you know, workforce plan, maybe some of that will address that in terms of that career pathway within the sector. It's just whether or not, you know, with so many private and local authority services, we can pull that into one that all of us use, so that it is united and it is one for people that aren't working in the sector.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Steve Watson's come in and said Ed Walls did a good program. Yes, he did. Happy to say that I interviewed him about this. Really sad to say that he seems to have dropped off the radar for social care support since that program. Sort of landed him on the map again. People started talking about him, and it launched his presenting career. Fabulous. Has he done more for social care? I've not really heard his name being touted about. And this is where my problem comes, not from this Ed Balls program specifically, but when you do have a celebrity as a face to a show, there is this expectation, and I have this expectation, and whether it's wrong or right for me to have this expectation, I don't know. But if you're going to take on a behemoth as social care and try and do some support around it, raise awareness around it, I kind of feel like you need to commit. I kind of feel like you need to be in it for the long haul, not just the 30-minute program that's or two, a two-part 30-minute program that's going to go out on BBC or whatever it was. I think you actually need to fully commit and see it through and follow it through. Otherwise, it just becomes another forgotten piece. But yeah, there was that. Was it Ed on the Care Crisis or something along those lines? But yes, no. What you were talking about, Mark, around how we get more people into social care, how we raise that awareness. Society needs to change its mindset of what social care is. People think social care is this idea of you have to be a carer, you have to provide, full-on personal care. And I think we need to get back to the idea that actually we assimilate into social care in every day and everything that we do. The amount of times we will go to the supermarket, and I don't know what this is, if this is what you were referring to, but someone asks you to reach something down from the top shelf. You hold the door open for somebody who's got a walking aid, and you let them into a building. Would they have been able to do that without you? Possibly. Would they have been able to do it easily without you? Possibly not. Have you supporting them improve their quality of life? Probably. Isn't that what social care is all about? Isn't social care caring for society? Isn't social care to support people to live those independent, fulfilling lives? And actually, do we need to start making people realize that they say they can't be a carer, but if they're polite enough to hold a door, if they're kind enough to reach items down for people, if they're considerate enough to notice that someone looks unwell, so they stop and give them some support, then, I'm going to break it to you. You're probably going to make a fantastic carer. You might not be able to do certain types of care, but that's the wonder of the social care rainbow. There is so much of types of care out there that actually you'll be able to find something you can do. Be that companion support, you could do living care, you could do home care, you could do personal care, you could do advanced brain injury care, you could do supported living care, you could do all sorts of care, because you're a caring person. And why not get paid to do something that really, really matters and really, really changes the people's well-being, their independence, their ability to enjoy life. So for me, it is around driving back to that whole society caring for each other, not this society that wants to laugh at people at all times. The society that we see on social media, the society that we see on TikTok. There's a couple of TikTok accounts that I follow that support the sort of, well, they're advocating for a non-patronizing approach to disability care, which I think is wonderful and I think is great. Sometimes they have their comments turned off on their videos, and I know exactly why they'll be turning them off, because people go on there and go, well, I won't even repeat what they say, but they say the most awful things because they think it's hilarious. They think it's funny. You see somebody on social media who has built up the courage to be able to share videos, to share photos. They've got physical disabilities. And what do you get in the comments? Absolute awful, hateful nastiness. And that is driving people back into their homes. It's creating a hermit society, not only in communities, in society, but online as well. And how have we got to a point in society where we think it's okay to ostracize people so much that they no longer feel welcome in the virtual world? There's a lot we need to be able to do. And unless we can start, and I'm going to say this, raising our children properly, unless we can start teaching children properly, unless we can start changing the mindsets of older generations, because we have got the intolerant older generations. If we can start practicing love, and we can start preaching that life is life and love is love, and we just need to be kind to people, if we can bring kindness to the forefront of everything we do, we have a chance. If we can't do that, and we can't get people to realize that actually it costs nothing to be kind and it costs lives to be nasty, then we're going to struggle.
No, absolutely. Completely agree. And I think there is probably an education program. I think it starts with parents, but I think there'll be a lot of parents that say, oh, it starts with school. And I think it's a equal thing. I think, actually, my children recently changed school in September. Be very open and honest about that. But actually, their previous school, one of the biggest ethos and the values were actually about friendship and acceptance. And I think that actually really stood my kids in really good ground. But I don't think that's common in all primary schools, let alone secondary schools, when it kind of changes and all the cliques form. But so I think bringing it back to kind of social care itself. So what registered managers, care managers, directors, business owners can do. And I think there is a lot of talk. We all know that the regulator is broken, but I think we can still do the best that our teams can do. We can still be the best, care manager, director, business owner that we want to be. We all join social care for a reason. And I think we have to take ownership of our roles and responsibilities. And instead of blaming somebody else for what isn't happening, actually, how do we change that? Even if it's just changing that culture within your service and the rest of the outside world is doing what it's doing, actually you can change that. You can change the culture within your team, and you can start changing some of those negatives into positives. I think we've put there that you can lead small impactful changes in your service, and I truly do believe that actually your team are probably doing amazing things that we might not necessarily shout about. Actually just popping that onto social media with people's consent, if you're using images and bits and pieces, actually, we've spoken about the power of social media before in the past, but we also know, and this is point number 3, that actually so many other care providers would be watching what the care provider down the road does. So actually, if you're doing something really positive that's having a positive impact on your team, on the people you're supporting, actually the care provider down the road will think, oh my God, that's really good. That's a really easy idea. I'm going to start doing that. And it could be something simple, like, have you got a spare area in your garden in the summer? Could you grow, strawberries, raspberries, whatever? Could you make a homemade cake? That picture of that homemade cake with, the berries on the top, something so simple, but something that most people relate to in terms of home baking. Actually, the care home down the road will think, oh, I could easily do that. I could pop and, buy a strawberry plant it up. The residents, whoever it is could grow it, could water it, could pick it, could cut it. We could make a cake. I think there's so much power in, power in a photo that it doesn't necessarily have to be a person actually doing it. It could be, their hands, their arms, the back of them. I know we've spoken many times about whether or not you put people that you support or your staff on social media and consent. Adam, any thoughts around kind of small personal things?
I just think when it comes to the small impactful changes, it's about bringing people along for that journey, and it's around looking at what you can control, looking at what you can't control. So, not to tell everybody how to or teach everybody how to suck eggs, but we've all seen the analogy, haven't we, where you draw a circle and you draw a circle, and in that center circle is stuff that you can control, stuff you can change, and then everything outside the other circle is stuff you have no control over. So if you have they're probably mirrored now and you probably can't even read this, but if we have everything that we can control in the center, and then everything on the outside here is stuff we can't control, and we've got no ability to change, we've got no ability to influence, why do we spend our time talking about it? We talk about so much, like salaries, wages, the environment, the government, stuff that we cannot physically go out there and change. Everything in the middle ring here is the stuff we can influence, and this is the stuff we need to focus on. This is the stuff where we can go, well, actually, we can't change it directly. It's not that we've got no control over it whatsoever, but actually, I think we can start to influence this. I think we can start to change this. I think we can start to sort of make this better. Stuff like your team's mindset. You can't control how your team feel, but you can sure as hell influence it. You can't control whether your team enjoy their jobs, but you can sure as hell influence it. So those are the sort of things that we need to be focusing on internally. You've got, really low retention. You've got a high turnover of your team members. That's not the government's fault. You can blame wages if you want to, but you can't change that. You can change your own salary structure if you want to pay them more. If you can't afford to do that, you can't do anything about it. So ignore the wages, ignore the salary. If you cannot offer more money than what is national living wage or national minimum wage, Forget about it. Stop wasting your time thinking about how you're going to be able to make more money appear out of nowhere, because you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get anywhere. There will be a portion of your team who will go no matter what you do because they want more money. And that is fine. That is understandable. That is out of your control. With your team surveys, if you're getting stuff back like we've got really low morale, or we're not respected, or I don't feel like I've got a career path, or no one really lets me talk, or no one really listens to me, or I don't feel comfortable in this place, that is all the stuff you can influence. I mean, you can actually directly control a lot of that, but their mindsets and their enjoyment of the role is the stuff you should be influencing. And that's the stuff you need to start taking personal responsibility over if you find yourself in those situations, because only you as an employer, only you as a manager, only you as a director can make those decisions to make the workplace better. You can bring the team along with you, and your team are going to have to come along with you, because you can try and put these changes in place. If your team don't work with you and your team continue to foster a negative environment, you can't control them fostering a negative environment. You can control them being in your service. So it all comes down to the people with those powers to be able to bring that change into where we need it to be. And we now need to start taking some of that responsibility ourselves, so that if the only thing that our team say to us about why they don't enjoy their job is because they don't get enough money for it, great. If they love every other aspect about their job, if they love their training, if they love the career pathway that you've set them on, if they love how involved they are in changing the service, if they love how responsible you make them feel, if they love the fact that they've got a community running within the team, fabulous. If it's one thing that you have got no control over, tough titties. You don't need to focus on that. What you can do is try and advocate for change by joining Providers Unite or a care association. But without doing any of that, you're not going to have any influence or say. And I suppose that's the other point I would make, is around getting in with your care associations. We don't have a care association up here in Lancashire. I really want one here in Lancashire. In fact, I have got an email from someone, and if you are watching this, you know I've got an email from you. I have read it and I've not replied, about looking at how we can make a care association happen. But unless you join your care associations, unless you get involved with your local authority, unless you get involved with your ICB and their support groups and their managers forums and their quality forums and the NI forums and skills for care forums, unless you're a part of those, you're missing out on A, loads of free resource, B, loads of peer support, and C, your ability to influence change within your local sector. And it's really, really important. If you don't become a part of them, I kind of feel like saying, don't moan, because you've got the opportunities there to help you. And I'm not going to go through the story that I love running to, but the little red hen and the loaf of bread. If you don't know that story, just put in Google little red hen and loaf of bread on a farm, and no one wants to help her make it. And then everyone wants a piece of the action. That's sort of what we're like in social care at times. We've got this, it's everyone else's fault. There's absolutely nothing I can do, and everyone else is to blame. Ugh. It is never 100% black and white. And sometimes we need to do a bit of self-reflection and go, actually, what could we do better? They're not doing what they need to do, but what could we do better? What are we doing at the moment that isn't the best? And how can we improve? How can we get better? Who do we talk to? Who do we listen to? Who do we get to support us on this journey? These are all those changes around taking on that responsibility to improve your own service, whether you're a 1, 2, 3 service provider, whether you're a 40, 50, 100 service provider. If you're 150 plus, you know, you're probably really good at this anyway. But you need to start listening to people. You need to start bringing them on this journey. You need to start exacting change internally to start making those benefits be visible, and to start removing some of the obstacles you're facing.
No, absolutely. I unfortunately can't share into the comments, but Adam, I've just sent you a message in the background, just of 3 links, just that relate to kind of some of the bits that I've just written down as you were talking that I kind of thought about. And I think you spoke about care associations. Actually, if you haven't got a care association and you're thinking actually really would like one, it'd be really beneficial. Actually, you can work with Skills for Care and they co-fund some of that. And I don't think it would take long before it gets off the ground. And it doesn't need to be anything big and fancy. Actually, just all of you getting together, you could share, you know, the locations where you're at for an hour a month or something. It's just around networking and sharing ideas and bouncing, you know, concerns off one another. I think you spoke around kind of how we make changes within our service. And I think, we've spoken about feedback before, and one of the links I've just sent you is to kind of one of our previous shows around how we kind of empower and evidence care through, through the feedback we get. And we know with the single assessment framework, 80% of it, and it might have changed, I'm sure Tina will tell me if it has, is actually through feedback. So it's really important that you are gathering that, utilizing it, and then obviously making those positive changes within your service. Something you can easily do with your staff around actually how you change, the culture into one, learning and development is actually how often do you review the goals that your staff have? And my own organization does this really well. You sit down, and it's normally done in kind of March, April time, and we think about the goals that we want to achieve. Then halfway through the year, we review kind of the progress that we're getting towards that goal. And then at the end of the year, we review it and look at kind of the goals for the following year. But actually, it just allows staff to kind of develop and talk about and just have time set aside. And then obviously during your supervisions on a regular basis, you can kind of touch base if there's any concern around it, talk about kind of the goals, if they need any support and bits and pieces. And we'll share our goal setting show in the conversation. And I also sent a link around one for KPI setting as well that we did, and supervisions, because I think that supervision show was really kind of, for me, it was insightful, but I think was also inspiring in terms of supervision in social care has become a very tick box exercise. And actually, I left that show with Kavita Brown and you, Adam, feeling really empowered into actually that's not what supervision should be. Actually, it should be something that's really personal to the person and their manager. So definitely worth a watch, that one.
But you see, this is where it needs to be a collaboration, because we can come out with all of these wonderful ideas. So I'll finish that point first and I'll go on to the next one. We can come out with these wonderful ideas of what supervisions and appraisals should be, and we can be confident in the fact that this is what a supervision and appraisal should be. And then you'll get someone walk through your door, and it'll be a regulator, for example, and they'll go, this person's not had a supervision every 6 weeks. And it's like, yeah, but that's archaic. That's not how we do it here. It's trying to change the mindsets of everyone, not just ourselves. And sometimes we can be disheartened because we come up with these really great initiatives, and actually we need to own our own knowledge. We need to be confident in the fact that we know what we're doing. I will always remember when I partnered with John's campaign and took on their values and really embedded it within our home. And I spoke to one of our CQC inspectors, who wasn't our inspector, who was just an inspector in the area. And I was saying, it's wonderful. Families are involved in every aspect of life. They still come, they still support their loved ones to get washed and dressed. They come at meal times, they come brush their teeth. We've got some that actually do the medication for their loved one, because at the end of the day, it's their home. It's what they used to do at home. Why can't they continue to do it whilst they're with us? We never wanted to stop them from doing this. They stay over, they get them ready for bed, they get them up in the morning. It's wonderful. And the first thing the CQC inspector said to me was, do you do this because you're short-staffed? And I was like, no, I do it because it's what they want. I don't force the relatives to come in. We don't force relatives to be delivering care. But if a relative wants to support their loved one in a nursing home or in our home or in the community, we are going to support them to do so. Yes, we can identify when families are at burnout stage, but actually, why should we stop them? What's more dignified, as Brenda Bumstead once said? Is it more dignified for a stranger to give my husband a wash? Or is it more dignified for the woman who's lived with him for the last 50 years and supported him in his later years to be there giving him a wash? And yet when her husband moved into a nursing home, she was told that for dignity reasons, she was not allowed in the bedroom while he was having a wash and getting dressed. And yet she'd been there his entire life doing so. And that's an aspect that we lose out. So it's about not just changing our own internal mindsets, but owning our knowledge and saying to people when they come through our doors, this is how we do it, and this is why we do it. And you're going to like it, basically. We know what we're doing, and we're not changing the way we do it. If you're in breach of regulations, then crikey, yeah, get yourself sorted. But if you're not breaching regs, and actually you've got a really positive workforce, and your residents are happy, and your home's happy, and you've got really good outcomes, that's all that matters. That outcome-based approach, that outcome-based care. If you've got all of that evidence, just own your knowledge, own and be confident around what you do.
No, absolutely. And I think what a better time to do it? We know the regulator is on their knees. They're not fit for purpose. So who are they to tell us that we aren't doing their job? And you just listening to you there, Adam, the amount of people living with a learning disability that we used to move into our service, and social workers were like, I can't do that. And I remember an article on the news that really kind of stuck with me. It still sticks with me now, but gave me that kind of thought process to actually challenge social workers, CQC. Was there was somebody that had lived with their parents for years, with somebody living with a learning disability, that used to walk every day on their own to the bridge to watch the lorries, and then would track the lorries that would drive under the bridge every day, would just stand there for hours. Parents died, had to move into a care home, and it was deemed that he didn't have capacity to go to the bridge on his own and watch the lorries. And there was a big case law around actually that he had done that for years and years and years. So why, just because he's now in a care home, would he not have capacity to do that? And I think that really resonated with me, actually. Just because you're moving into a care home doesn't mean that needs to be the end result.
Yeah.
But I've had that with people with learning disabilities that I've supported, that, you know, life almost stops in those rights from outside. You know, social workers don't, you know, they're not positive risk taking. CQC aren't positive risk taking. Even something as simple as like a sexual relationship with two people with a learning disability, and you've got to have your documentation and your paperwork to back up that. But yeah, what a better time while, you know, everyone's kind of crumbling around us to feel like actually we know what we're doing. We're doing a bloody good job, and who are you to tell us otherwise? We've got a number of
care though, Mark. We'll be there forever.
I know, that's why I'm swiftly moving us onto the comments. Some of these, unfortunately, might have linked back, but we've got Braintree Dementia Alliance. There's a lot of talk about neighbourhood teams. It definitely needs to be local-based care and not whole local authority. Completely agree with that point there. There's a lot of talk in Essex around neighbourhood teams as well, which Braintree actually is in Essex, interestingly. Donna has put, the thing about media about social care, it's always shown in a negative light. 100%. But actually, some of those things we've just spoken about, if we can use the power of our social media, actually we can try and change some of that. And it might not necessarily be picked up in mainstream media, but local sometimes has just as much power as, you know, as the national. How do we feel that we can influence the CNO of adult social care nurses and the rest of the staff on the sector?
I don't. I have no confidence. Don't get me wrong. If it's still Deborah Sturdy, I love Deborah Sturdy. I think she's wonderful. But actually, I don't see much happening for social care nurses.
No, I think the Outstanding Society do a lot with social care nurses, but there's definitely a gap there in terms of what's on offer. And there are some really good, Tina, I'm happy to connect you. There are some really good learning disability nurses that really advocate careers in learning disabilities that I can connect you with if you want. Danny has put, career pathway is an issue. Many rank structures that bottleneck talent, more opportunities and professional recognition would really help buy-in from potentially great social care leaders of the future. 100% on this, 100%. And I think we still have that whole, you need to be a care worker and work your way up. While many of us have done that, actually, I think with, you know, technology, and we're going to talk about technology in a bit, actually, now's the time to bring talent in from outside. And while we've got loads of small businesses that are struggling, same as us with national insurance rate increases and rises, actually, why not look at what talent is around us that we can bring in? Adam, just shout if there's any thoughts on any of these.
Yeah, just before you move on from Donna's, did you bring Laura's in from X? Only because it just seems to be so fitting that, you know, registered nurse Laura herself saying that there's a lack of understanding of the nursing profession by the profession itself and the system. You know, it's very interesting to hear that actually the nurses themselves don't have that full, not all nurses, we're not generalizing here, but actually the nursing profession itself, that nursing community has a lack of understanding of what the sort of variety of nursing opportunities are available. Sorry, you went on to Steve's comment.
No, that's okay. And that was I can't see that comment for some reason, but that was Lucy.
Laura.
She's been on a show, and again, Lucy's somebody that's really great to connect with in terms of that awareness of learning disability, not learning within nursing, within social care. We have got Tina. Will the sector ever be able to put itself together with so many small private providers? Will we have one voice and one hymn sheet? As discussed, last week, the financial constraints being a core driver. Should we adopt the principles of co-production to providers? Health Education English published in 2021 an interest paper on working differently together, one workforce. I definitely think it needs to be a massive shake-up if it's going to be collaborative. Because I really don't see it at the moment that private and local authority funded care services will ever be united. I don't ever see social care and healthcare ever being united and truly collaborative under the current structure that we currently have. And I don't know what that looks like, but it needs to be some radical shake-up. And I often think that's probably why government haven't done it, because they know it's a massive mammoth of a task.
But it's not for government to do. This is why we were saying last week, shouldn't it sit outside of the government? Shouldn't it be a separate entity to the government? Actually, why don't we just have a health and social care committee run by people working and living in social care and with social care, who decide on what we should do, and then we just run it by government? Why are we putting these bloody ministers in charge who haven't got a Scooby about what they're doing and have their interests placed elsewhere because they just want to use it as a career ladder to catapult them into fantastic pensions and hopefully the big C? Let's actually just get people in charge of health and social care who need health and social care, who work in health and social care, who deliver health and social care, and receive health and social care. I know what Tina's saying. We are so disparate. We are so fragmented. Know what you're saying, Mark. It needs to be an absolute massive shake-up, and I agree with the pair of you. I just want it to be shaken up so much that the government can't get the greedy mitts on it, and we can sort it out ourselves and just go, this is what we're doing, help fund us, and we'll get where we need to be.
No, absolutely. And I think Social Care Future, and we've done some work very kind of briefly with them, Adam, in terms of awareness. I think they do that really well in terms of bringing the voice of lived experience together. Danny has put, we've recently developed civility training. So simple, but feedback has been brilliant. I firmly believe that people in general have been less kind since COVID. Reminding staff of how to be civil at work sounds over the top, but I feel it's helping our culture. Absolutely. I think when you talk about the culture, no, I was going to say, I think it only takes one person to change that culture within your service. But you are right, Danny. I think since COVID, it's very different times, but would be interested in hearing more. And if you're happy to join us on a show, it'd be great to kind of talk about what that training looks like.
In fact, Mark, I think if you remember, I messaged you about, and we're so on the show, but, around civility and actually how important it is now. And Danny, we would love to know more about your civility training and what you're doing and how you get that across to your team.
Tina has commented back to Danny, did an experimental training on that, had a massive difference. Staff being a resident for a few hours was a massive factor in changing attitudes and respect.
So this is something we're looking at implementing into our training, is that experiential side of things. So especially around dignity, especially around dementia, and also those soft skills, how to talk to people, how to communicate, how to be kind, how to have that positive body language. So Tina, again, would love to hear how that all went for you, and I would love some feedback around that. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Right, I'm going to move us on a slide. We've got 10 minutes. I know, I don't know how we did this in 25 minutes, but some of this we've already discussed. So we've spoken about the importance of networking. And I think if there's anybody that wants some good WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, anything on X, on LinkedIn, then do reach out and we will connect you into those groups. I think, sounding big-headed, but things like the Caring View, the Outstanding Society, Skills for Care, actually staying informed of what's happening in the sector, but also following people on social media, and LinkedIn's a great one for it to help you stay informed. We'll support you in how you can make that system work for you. Adam, before we move on to point 3, anything you want to touch on point 1 and 2?
No, just network. Get your name out there. Get your name known. I don't mean become a celebrity. I don't mean you need to start a podcast, but you're more than welcome to start a podcast. We don't have a monopoly on it. We'd love more podcast guests who run podcasts themselves. It'd be fabulous. But actually, just get yourself known within your networks, known within your sector, known within your area. Know the people in your area, because it is not what you know a lot of the time. It is who you know. So make sure you get to know who your senior nurses are in your local area, who the people in the ICB are that you need to know, who your safeguarding leads are that you can get in touch with and ask them for support. Find out all of that information, get yourself known within those circles, get yourself known to be supportive, and get yourself supported. And that way things will get better, because you will seem to find, or you will soon find, something will come through your inbox or through your front door and you've got, oh, do you know what? It's going to phone the, hi, yeah, this and that, and what should I do about this? And you've got yourself a hotline to someone that is going to support you. They probably won't like me saying that, but it works. Get yourself networked as much as you possibly can. And then with your local providers in your area, I'm experiencing this. How have you ever had anything like this? How did you get through it? What would you recommend? Managers should be here to support managers. So networking is super important. And the stay informed, but networking massively.
Absolutely. And just on the subject of networking, Adam, if you can pop it in the group or in the chat even. Obviously, we've got UK Care Week, which you touched on right at the beginning, but such a great way of not only staying informed, but also networking. So if you are free on the 19th or the 20th, you don't have to go for both days to UK Care Week. Would definitely recommend it. So point 3 is around how we reframe frustrations as opportunities. Actually, are we frustrated about our local authority and the small uplift that they're giving because actually it's going to make us really financially stretched? How do you turn that into an opportunity? Actually, network with your fellow care providers, get together. If you have got a local care association, utilize them to challenge the local authority for better uplifts. You've got frustration with the CQC. How can you make sure that actually what you're doing is an opportunity? And I think you can turn anything into an opportunity. And I think one thing I spoke about at the event when Adam and I did this, that's something that always resonated and has stuck with me, was that somebody once said to me that if you worry or you stress about something today, it only ruins today. It doesn't actually impact tomorrow. It doesn't really change anything tomorrow. You've just ruined your whole day thinking about it. So actually just flipping it on its head actually is good for your mental health as well. I think one thing here from me is around lessons learned. I think is humongous. Actually, there will be things that have gone wrong, and things go wrong all the time, and that's absolutely fine. It's how we learn from them. And actually, again, for your team, if they've made a mistake, actually, what is that opportunity to learn from it? What could you do differently, and how can you improve that service, either for the team that or the people you support? Adam, anything on point 3 at all?
Sorry, I was frantically. Oh, 1 second. I'm frantically in the background trying to load up the stuff into the chat, but because I'm not on my computer, I can't access my WhatsApp. So I will put some links up when I manage to figure it out. If you're able to send them in the private chat, Mark, do that, and I can pop them over. You were on point 3.
Yes, point 3. Any thoughts at all before we move to point 4?
No, just what I touched upon earlier. Anything that is currently a barrier for you, anything that is an obstacle, how do you make it work for you? How do you turn those negative situations into something positive? And I think that is a really, really important mindset to have when doing this. I don't know. You've got a role in your home that you've never had before, and the person leaves. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Well, actually, maybe good time to go back to the drawing board. Can you work with your team to structure out the roles differently? Is this a chance to delegate more responsibilities to others? Is it a chance to create new roles within your service? Is it a chance to give people more responsibilities? Is that going to improve team morale? So it's just around having a look at the stuff that you can directly change and influence and managing that. The stuff you can't, forget about it. But how can you actually make it work for you? So yeah, no, I spoke quite a bit about that earlier. So now ready to move on.
Okie dokie. So number 4, how we leverage technology. I think there are still providers that aren't on digital systems. And I appreciate there will be some services that digital isn't for you. And I think that's absolutely fine. I think if you're a service that hasn't considered electronic care planning or electronic medication or electronic rostering, you should definitely consider it, because I think actually the amount of data and insight that you can get, and it goes back to kind of what we said about utilizing data and that feedback, that you can then improve your service. I also think, if you're already digital and you've got those digital systems that I just spoke about, actually, what AI tools are out there that can help you, support you in your role? And I think, you've got the ones that we hear about every day. You've got, ChatGPT, you've got Copilot. I think there's some other really interesting ones. And I spoke about Google LM when we did this previously. And actually, funny enough, when I last went on Google and I Googled something, it actually gave me a prompt to whether. So they're definitely rolling it out a lot more. But basically, you can put a number of different resources into Google LM, and it will create a short form podcast that you can share. It will give you some case studies from it. It will give you, so they call it a textbook book, I think it is. So basically, something that you can use within your teams that's bite-sized but digestible. Actually, a perfect way of you being able to share some insights for your team. You could put some information around mental capacity act, and then that could be a focus that you use that week to share information around MCA and DOLS, but in a bite-sized way, as opposed to it being really information heavy. Adam, I know you've started using some AI that you spoke about at the event.
Well, first off, at the event, you introduced me to Napkin AI. And
I did, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, Napkin AI, that is a game changer, creating yourselves infographics at a quick pace. That is really cool to use. That is just napkin.ai. But one of the things, and I suppose this is around reframing your frustrations as opportunities as well, is read.ai. So read.ai is a minute taker. It summarizes your meetings for you, Teams meetings, this is. It gives you action points from them. It tells you how engaged your team are during those meetings. And actually, if you are finding yourselves in a financial position where you're paying loads and loads of team members and not seeing the benefits, you've got an admin, but actually your admin spends most of the time writing up minutes from meetings and isn't able to do cost analysis if you want them to do cost analysis or other various things. Or it could be other people doing different things and they're writing up minutes. You've got disciplinaries that are going on. You're doing them by teams. You've got 3 people there and you've got 1 person taking notes. Read.ai saves you so much time. And you literally, it actually joins my meetings for me now when I can't join and sends me a summary of what the meeting was. It's absolutely wonderful. It's fantastic. We've just started using it for ourselves and I can literally lift the minutes off, send them straight out to everybody. I'll proofread them quickly. But really, really, really useful. So there's a lot of AI out there now that can support you. You want to get new brochures done. You want to get new marketing done. You can't afford to pay for your marketing people to do it. You can't afford to outsource it. Go on to Canva. Like literally go on to Canva. It's not technically AI, but they've got tons of templates there for you. But they do have an AI tool built in, so it rewords your words for you. I think it's called Magic Rewrite or something crazy. Absolutely fantastic. You could knock out a 2-page brochure in half an hour. If you know how to do drag and drop, and type on a keyboard, you can knock out a brochure in half an hour and save yourself hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds. In fact, you can actually get them printed directly through Canva or just print them off at your printer at your service or just send them out on your socials. But it's actually utilizing these services now. And Canva costs $10.99 a month. Over a year, you're looking at what, 140 quid, whatever it is. I can't do math. Whatever 12 times 11 is, 100. I don't know. I can't do math. But it's there to support you. It's really, really cheap. It's going to save you money. It's technology. It's leveraging the softwares. It's leveraging that ease of access. It's not about putting people out of jobs. It's actually about making sure that you can keep your team in jobs because you're not overspending where you don't need to. That's my take on the use of technology. Is there is a bit of investment. Yes, it removes the physical personnel from some areas. But actually, if that means you can invest more in the other areas of your home and provide other jobs in other areas, 100% do it. Technology is not going anywhere unless we get hit by an asteroid or, I don't know, X-rays and gamma rays from outer space and it fries all of our internet and computers and power lines. It's going nowhere. So get used to it, get using it, and start making it work for you.
No, absolutely. So the next one is be a goat and not a sheep. I got this from my youngest, who is only 7, but talks about bloody goats and sheeps all day long. And not because their grandparents are farmers, but I think But it does really resonate with me in terms of social care, because I think a lot of us are sheep in terms of reading those CQC reports, seeing what other providers are doing. And we did touch on this earlier, and we follow suit. Oh my God, they got outstanding and they did that. That's really easy. Let's do that. Oh my God, that didn't go so well, but we almost do that. Let's change it. And we kind of follow that kind of road all the time within social care. Actually, we could be the GOATs, so the greatest of all time. We could do something different, and we can push the boundaries, and we could be positive risk takers, and we can make a true difference either with our teams or the people we support. And I generally believe that the sheep of social care will follow, and that won't then be the, you know, the unique thing happening. It'll become the norm. And I think in, COVID times, so many of us did some, a lot of things that we would never have done previously, but actually they became the norm. And Adam, I know in COVID you set up those activities with loads of different care homes. Actually, since that's what Napa do now, the Activity Providers Association. Actually, exactly. A whole organisation built around connecting care services via live streaming. Something like this. There wasn't anything really like this pre-COVID. Actually, now there's so many different resources very similar. And you spoke earlier around podcasting. If anybody wants to set up a podcast on a regular basis around social care, we get so many messages about when there's going to be another podcast update on our Spotify or our Google podcast. Please be our guest to fill that void, because we don't have enough hours in the day. But I think there are so many things that we can probably think of, our teams can think of, that would make such a big impact the way we work, the way we support people. And we don't necessarily do it because of fear of whatever reason, but actually I think take that leap if you think of something and then shout about it. And I think so many people will follow because of that positive impact. Any thoughts there, Adam?
No, I just have that goat from Wicked in my head. Something bad. No, you said goat. I've just got a goat in my head. No, I think you're absolutely right, Mark. I think you're absolutely right.
And I think the only thing I have goat related in my mind is Goat Simulator. For anybody who's got an Xbox or a PlayStation, it's an amazing game. You should 100% go and play it, because I absolutely love it.
Oh no, the other goat thing that I've just got in my head. Can we do a show just on goats, because they are incredible things? Have you seen the fainting goats when they come down the slides and they faint as they come down the slides? But the best one ever, if you are watching this and you've never seen this before ever, is just put goat and Taylor Swift into TikTok or YouTube or whatever search engine you use, because it is the most amazing thing, and it's goat singing Taylor Swift, and it's just fantastic. Yeah.
And the last thing of this evening, we do have another slide, but I think actually we're going to save the next slide for another evening. Otherwise, we'll roll way too on into the evening.
Let's save it for UK Care Week. You'll have to join us at UK Care Week.
Yes, 100%. I think number 6, do what you came to do. I don't think we could end the show on such a good point. Actually, so many of us joined social care because we wanted to support people. So many of us became managers because we wanted to lead teams that were doing it for the right reason. Loads of us became, business owners and directors because we wanted to shape the company that we had and the culture we had. And I think sometimes when you're in the nitty gritty of the day to day and the 9 to 5, we forget about some of those reasons that we joined social care, and it's become stressful, and it's become, half of us are probably doing jobs that we never thought we would ever be doing, or the role that we're doing has evolved so much it's not the job that you actually applied for. I think sometimes when you've had a really bad day, you think, what the hell am I doing? Could be working down the road, or, and we'll have teams like that. And actually a really good exercise you can do with your teams, and even with yourself after tonight, is just think about why you joined social care, or why you joined the company you did, or why you chose to do the role you do. Because I think sometimes that just reignites that flame within you of what you want to do. And sometimes just taking that reflection really helps. And I know for me, sometimes when, I'm down in the dumps about, that I don't have enough time in the day and enough time in the week and everything's stressful, actually what I joined my organization for, and the differences I wanted to make and the impact I wanted to make. And I think sometimes, juggling the caring for you, actually what we hope to achieve and do, and bits and pieces. I think sometimes just that reflective work doesn't have to take you ages. It can be in the shower. Everybody loves a good thought in the shower, but actually it goes a really long way to kind of spurring you back on and giving you the energy you need. Adam, any thoughts? And then we can do comments before we close out.
No, I just want to echo what you're saying, just be proud of what you do. Love what you do, be proud of what you do, and make sure you don't deviate from your original intentions. If you go home one day, well, you should go home every single day from your work and go, am I proud of what I've achieved today? Am I proud of what I've done today? Am I proud about how I feel today? Am I proud about how I have supported people today? And if you answer no to that on any given day, check it out, self reflect, improve the following day. It's something you should always reflect on. Don't cut corners, don't make compromises, don't put people at risk, don't compromise what your values and your ethics are, and always stay true to who you are. Stay true to yourself, stay true to those values, those morals, and ask yourself every single day, because you'll appreciate it. Or ask yourself during the day, if you're about to do something, go, will I regret this later on? Will I be happy later on? Will I look back on this and be upset? Will I look back on this and not be proud? And if the answer to that is yes, you're not stroking your ego, you're just keeping yourself checked. You're keeping yourself in line, and you're keeping yourself on track to what you're supposed to be doing. There's no shame in that, and you should do it. And you do have your down days. I remember before Christmas, we had a couple of tough weeks. And then I got a photo sent to me from one of my team, because there was a Christmas card competition. The resident was over the moon, beaming from eye to eye, absolutely just ecstatic with joy. And that's why we do what we do, to facilitate. And I know that sounds ableist. I know that sounds patronizing, and I don't mean it to come across that way. But we do what we do to make sure that the world is a safe place for people to live in, and that we can support people, and that the team can enjoy what they do, and that people living with care can enjoy their lives, who might not be able to do so without that additional support. And actually, that is enough to sort of bring you around from a bad day. It's an elixir, it's a tonic, and it's healing. And we need to be mindful of that, and we need to remind ourselves of that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. For people commenting about being connected with people, can you do me a favor and either just drop me a message on LinkedIn or Facebook, whatever's easy with you, or if you've got my number on WhatsApp or text, only just to remind me who you want linking in with, only because I can't remember half the conversation we've had tonight. Or if you want linking into some of the groups, just let me know, whether that was WhatsApp, Facebook, LinkedIn, what that was. Okay, to the comments. Satina has put, there's a great read, Black Box Thinking by Matthew Said, Failures into Positives and Positive Attitudes, The Zen and Art of Motorcycling Maintenance, Not About Motorbikes, by Robert M. Persig. We love book recommendations. I am not going to lie that I've got hundreds of books that I need to read, but I do have an app on my phone, and I will find it because I can't remember what it's called. No, that's not it. I do have an app on my phone that you can type in the book. It is paid, but it's like really cheap per month, and it summarizes the book. So if you're like me, you see all these book recommendations, you think I'm going to buy it and read it, and then you don't. Actually, there's an app for that. Okay, where's the rest of the messages? We've got Tina had use AI for word searches, answers for questions on topics, just used on an accident incident reports. All staff found it fun, not like learning, and the accidents forms have since improved. I think that's meant to say 100%. There's so many ways you can use AI now to share it with your teams and make it fun and get engaged. Petros, I understand your point. However, it does strike me sometimes when people literally copy and paste stuff and do not put any effort in. I feel it lacks authenticity sometimes. 100%. And I see it all the time on social media. I can tell straight away if somebody's used Copilot, straight away if they've used ChatGPT and they've literally copied and pasted it. And it drives me up the wall that there's so much engagement that they're saying that they, well, technically have created it, but they haven't really created it. Part of me thinks we should call them out on it, because I think so many people then copy and paste that themselves or use it in their own services, and it is a bit worrying sometimes. Adam, any final thoughts before we close out tonight's show?
No, not really. I'm loving the catharticism or cathartic nature of these shows at the minute. It's great to be able to get those points across. I like a bit more of a topical conversation from time to time. I'm loving the engagement that we're getting in the chat. It's been wonderful, everyone joining us this last couple of weeks. For me, it's just all around making sure that we think more for ourselves. Let's not let people think for us. Let's not people tell us what we should be doing. Yes, we've got guidance. Yes, we've got regs. Yes, we've got legislation, and yes, we need to follow them. But actually, let's dance to the beat of our own drum. Let's make our futures what we want to make our futures, no matter what the world is throwing at us. Whether this is our personal life, whether this is our professional lives, you have the ability to change. And believe me, I am talking from a place of experience. Last May, I decided I no longer wanted to be overweight. I no longer wanted to drink, and I no longer wanted to be bald. And I am now 8 stone lighter, sober, and I have hair. Anything you want to do is achievable. You just have to put your mind to it. And I'm not going to go to stoicism too much tonight, but we have to relinquish this sense of entitlement that is plaguing society at the minute. It's unfair. I've done so much work and I've got nothing for it. If you go through life thinking that, you are never going to be happy. If you have put a lot of effort into something and it has not given you rewards, don't get beaten up. Go back to the drawing board, start again. Figure out what it is that let you down. Figure out why it was that you didn't get what you needed to get from that, and how can you improve moving forwards. If we go through life with this entitlement that we deserve stuff no matter what, we're not going to achieve what we need to achieve. You've got to put the hard work in. You've got to put the effort in. You've got to take personal responsibility. And I think in social care, that time is now. And we need to start making the system work for us. We need to start making the sector work for us. And we need to start making people hear us. You know, there is no ifs, no buts, no maybes now. If we continue to lie down and we continue to take the situation as it is, and we don't foster change and we don't sing about change, we're not going to get change. We cannot go through social care entitled, think it's going to get better because we want it to get better. It's going to get better because we're going to make it better, and we need to do that together. I don't know how. I don't have all the answers, but I know it is together, and I know it is us that's going to bring that change.
Absolutely. Positive thoughts and positive affirmations. Before I
love an
close
affirmation.
out,
I do love an affirmation.
Just a couple of bits before I close out to mention. So we've spoken about actually uniting our voices, working with other care providers. We spoke about it last week. Just a shout out to Providers Unite. You can find out more on www.providersunite.co.uk. They have set a date of action, which is Monday, the 25th of February. At Parliament in London. They are meeting at 10:30. You can find them on Facebook if you just search Providers Unite, and they've got all the details there. They're also sharing details of how you can attend and meet an MP on that day without making a prior appointment. So if you want to go and you want to be part of a movement within social care and a day of action, this is the first time they've got over 3,000 providers at the moment that are coming together. So definitely go and check that out. And I have confirmed, Adam, that in the background, I did look at Log My Care. They do have a freemium version still. So if you're looking for a free version before you pay, do check out Log My Care. And just a shout out to Prosperwell, who today have launched their sales and customer experience services. So you can reach out to them. We'll share the link in the chat. But if you want to maximize the value of your marketing efforts and empower your teams, and have some training on how to identify bottlenecks, how you can refine processes, and create a better experience for inward bound inquiries, then do check out that, and we'll share that. But if you head over to our website and into our blog section, there is a press release from Prosperwell there, so do check that out.
And come and join us at UK Care Week. Meet our sponsors. You know, our sponsors will all be around us. And when we say the sponsors, I don't mean just, we're going to have a label from the company. We'll have the directors with us. This is why when we take on our sponsors, we really want to get to know who they are and value the services they provide. And we won't have anyone sponsor us who we would not wholeheartedly trust to let our services use, let alone your services. So please do come down and meet them. Come and get to know them. Come and get to know us. UK Care Week, 19th and 20th of March.
19th and 20th, yes.
I'm going to get it tattooed to myself so I remember it. I keep wanting to say the 17th of March, and I don't know why. That's a Monday. Is that my cue to close us out, Mark?
It is indeed. It is indeed. Just want to say thank you very much for the engagement in the chat tonight. It's been fantastic, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no, absolutely loved it. Loved everyone joining us tonight. Loved your company, Mark, as always. Love the fact that we can continue to do this for free, thanks to Prosperwell Care Business Associates Training, Attis Care by Attis Insurance Brokers, Log My Care, Florence and Learning Mint, Health Automated. I'm sure I've gone through them all now. If I haven't, please tell me off. And also a huge thanks to UK Care Week for allowing us to be present with a 2-day stage on the 19th and 20th of March at the Birmingham NEC. Do get yourselves registered. Do come down and meet us. It is going to be fabulous. We'll probably go for a few drinky poos and nibbles in the evening as well, which will be lovely. If there's anyone sober who is joining us, let's power up to the sober people. It's going to be an absolutely fab evening. You can have fun and not drink. We are out of dry January now. We never asked. Did anyone make it all the way through dry January? Let us know next week, and we'll ask next week. I want to know whether you survived dry January and whether you've decided to continue for a dry February and hopefully a dry 2025. It will be interesting to know. But until then, we are live back next week at 7:30 as always. www.thecaringview.co.uk for all of our podcast episodes and resources. And get in touch if you want to be on the show, if you want to share your knowledge. Danny, Donna, Tina, you've really been active in the chats tonight. It would be great to catch up with you all as well. James, as always, Petros, as always. So do get in touch and we can include your resources as well as your learning and knowledge in our future episodes. So take care, good night, and we will see you soon.